Senator Jim Carson has been a senior DFL member of the Senate Transportation Committee for the past several years and has focused his attention on improving transportation safety measures. He joins me now in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you, Shannon.
So members of both parties have recognized your continued efforts to make Minnesota roads safer by encouraging drivers to stop handling their cell phones when they're driving. The hands-free driving law goes into effect this week. Are you confident that drivers will follow the new law?
Yes, I am, to the point where the people that do follow the laws. We'll always have some people that will ignore it, but we also put in a little bit tougher penalties, the $275 fine, plus I'm advised that there are ways that you can lose your license by getting so many tickets within a 12-month period. So I think that there will be an increase in compliance, just like we did with seatbelt laws.
And because of increased penalties, people will just simply follow the law to save themselves some money and frustration?
I think so. In my own case, I never liked to talk on the phone when I was driving, and I never liked to text now, but I did back when it was still legal. I never spent a lot of time texting, but I would text, for instance, my legislative assistant when I was pulling into the parking ramp here, because when you get into the parking ramp, your phone is out of connection. So I would tell him when I'm arriving. So I thought about that today when I was coming up here, and we had an incident on 35E, and I was going to be late, and I thought, boy, I wonder if there's a way to get a hold of Shannon to tell her that I'm stopped in traffic. So yes, I think people will follow it, and I think that once they realize that this is making people safer, and also they'll look back at maybe some close calls that they've had, and they'll feel comfortable doing it, and they'll use that as their excuse for not responding to people, like I do right now.
There you go. So it takes effect this week. Give me a 30-second public service announcement.
When you pick up your phone, realize you're not paying attention to the road, but the biggest thing is you're dedicating one hand to that cell phone, and you often will not be signaling, you will not be shifting, and if you smoke, you already know that you have one hand already dedicated to that. So be aware that what you're doing is you're taking away a certain level of being able to respond to the traffic situation around you. So please put down the phone, use an earbud, use your Bluetooth, use your car's internal system to use your phone, and you'll be happier that you've done so.
And safer. A few years ago, the legislature directed the Department of Transportation to study speed limits and whether rural roads should be raised from 55 to 60. In the end, they concluded that most people were ignoring 55 and 60 was safe. However, we also hear that speed kills. So would you weigh in on just our speed limits? Are they appropriate across the state?
I think there's a lot of examples where 55 is just too slow. We have different speed limits based on the access. If it's a limited access highway, I don't think that 55 is really adequate, and that's where people start to speed. And I think that the study is important to maybe differentiate between where 55 is the safe speed or less, and 55 probably is not applicable. For instance, when you go from into the metro area here, you're still on a limited access highway. So is 55 appropriate there? Well, actually, no one goes 55 there. So I think that there's a good reason to look at some of these speed limits. I like to drive at least the speed limit. And so, I look at the speed limit, and usually if you're using like a Navigator app, it tells you what the speed limit is right on the screen. And I think all of those things are important because speed does kill. There's no doubt about that. And when you're in a rural area where the limited access exists, I think you can go to a higher speed limit. But if it's somewhere where, and I've seen some 55-mile-an-hour areas where 55 is the maximum you should be driving.
Right.
So I think the study is absolutely appropriate to figure out the best speed limit for any highway.
So let's turn to transit briefly. This year, the legislature passed a law that will allow light rail transit operators to be prosecuted for violating traffic laws. Previously, they were exempt, and surprisingly, there have been incidences between light rail trains and pedestrians. Does the state have sufficient training for the LRT operators? Does more need to be done to ensure the safety of pedestrians and other people who are crossing those railways?
I think more training is probably appropriate. However, what I was going to do last year, and we're still looking into it, is mandating controls on these trains. Because, for instance, if you bought a new Toyota or a new Outback, they'll stop if a pedestrian walks out in front of them. And I think that should be on these light rail trains, where they cannot enter an intersection if the light is red. They will take over if there is some kind of an object or person or car that's in the way. I think that we have to do.
So that's an increased technology that would be added to the trains.
And like I say, it's already in place in many automobiles. And, you know, we're putting that into place in locomotives, you know, trains as well. So I think the training is going to happen, but I think we also need to, because these things are operated on the streets, I think there needs to be far more focus than we've had in the past. And I absolutely support that bill that made driving on the street, whether it's in a car or whether it's in a light rail, you have to be susceptible to the same traffic laws.
Finally, Minnesota has an overall well-developed transportation system. Our MSP airport is an international hub. Freight moves on the Mississippi and on rails. We have more highways per capita than many other states. And we have growing demands in the metropolitan area for less congestion. Things are getting congested here. So in your view, wrapping up, you know, your transportation assessment as of this moment, what are the challenges facing lawmakers for the next decade? Because 2020 is just around the corner.
Well, the next decade, of course, it's being able to fund this infrastructure and make sure that the infrastructure is being built for the future, because the lead time on building something like that is years, and the funding is always short. I have a neighbor that does nothing but complain about having to drive downtown Minneapolis right now because there's so much construction going on. And part of that is because we let it go for so long. We talked about the bus stop on Lake Street, plus the unwinding down at the crossing of 94 and 35W. Those things were held off, and now it's a monstrous project. But we also need to make sure that we look at what's going to be required in the next decade, because we've talked about driverless cars or self-driving cars or automated cars. Those are cars that are not on the road today, and that's going to make congestion worse. We always have to remember that the automated or self-drive cars are going to follow the law. They're not going to speed. They're not going to cut you off at the end at any close distances. And what that's going to generate is more congestion. So if you have, for instance, a disability that will allow you to get a license, then you want to make sure that you have enough roadway that we can accommodate these cars.
So funding and then just a vision of a different future.
Yes.
Senator Carlson, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Shannon.